Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and happy Easter to all of you. Easter. What a special time. What a special time, right? I'm sure you would agree with me. For some, right? For some, Easter is the resurrection. So if you believe in Christ, so it's the resurrection of Christ, a special day that we're doing it. That's excellent. For others, it means something else, right? For others, that's the start of spring, and that's also a time that we need to celebrate. So, and for others as well, for example, if you're Jewish, that may correspond to Passover, right? Or this kind of Passover, which is the end of slavery in Egypt. And for others as well, even if you're Muslim, okay, that could be equated a little bit to uh, uh, um, period like Eid, right? When you come up the fasting and now you move into something much more jovial where you celebrate the sacrifices that you have been making. So, talking about that, so I also actually celebrated with family here, but it was important for me to talk to you because you also are my family. And then I was initially planning to do a topic that's a little bit more complex, but I said, no, actually, I want to step back a little bit. There's something even more important because what we here is how can we bring people together? How can we get people to join forces with us as we're fighting against climate change, as we're making that we're spreading awareness, we're spreading the use of renewables energy. So that's what I wanted to have a completely different topic, right? So, and this is what we're going to be talking about today. So, welcome again, everybody. My name is Tony TU, and this is Renewables in Africa channel. So, do you know what Renewables in Africa channel stands for? To what is it that we do? So, I can see I have a comment there. So, maybe you can discuss. I have Osama. Hey, Osama, great to see you. So, Renewables in Africa channel. So, it's a clean energy engineering company and a platform. What we do is we demystify the use of renewable energy for you, so that if you are an investor and you're thinking, I want to invest into this sector, we definitely will be making sure that we give you the information that you need. And hopefully that will be useful for you. Not hopefully, it will be useful for you. I can tell you, right? You can definitely look at all the videos that we have right now and you'll see. So if you are a business and again, you want to tap into the sector, you want to understand a little bit more, you want to go green, you find in here all the information that you need. Or else, if you are a professional and you want to jump into the sector, guess what? In here as well, you're going to get all the information you need. And what I'd like you to do, if that's the first time you come across us, definitely make sure that you subscribe, whether it's on the YouTube, whether on the LinkedIn, whether on the Twitter, or whether on the Facebook, because we actually broadcasting on the full platform today. Make sure that you reach out to us, connect with us, leave a comment, and tell us what you are thinking. Is it correct? Excellent. And as I'm going live, I always like to have some questions from people that I can read. I can see, for example, Sana has been saying, great to celebrate with you. Excellent. Renewables in Africa, hydrogen intelligence. Okay, excellent. So hydrogen is definitely part of it. I'm just going to make a mention of it. So I'm coming back to the topic. And I was thinking about what we all doing here, whatever side in the industry you're coming from, we all definitely want to do our work, do our part to make sure that we can move towards a future that we all want. We want to limit, right, the rejection of CO2 emission up into the atmosphere and also limit as well the increase of the temperature below 1.5 degree by the end of the century, right? This is what we need to be doing. And the thing is, people like you and I, right, I suspect, or most of you, we understand what we need to do. And I'm kind of at times feel like I'm preaching to the converted. And that's good to be doing. It's good to be to feel good between you and I. But the question is, how do we take everybody together with us? And this is the question that we need to be solving. That's why I asked the question now. According to you, what narrative should we be pushing forward? Yeah. So is it a doom and gloom or is it what I call the stubborn optimism? This is what I want to know. So I have a question from Tulani. Hey, Tulani, welcome. So great to see you. So I can see your question. I'm going to respond to that in a minute once I finish to develop the topic of today. I promise you I'm gonna come back. But make sure that you stay and you keep on adding as many questions as you can. Because I promise one thing, I'm gonna respond to all of them. So now going back to the topic, I would say, so what kind of narrative should we be selling? Is that a doom and gloom or is that a stubborn optimism? Because if I obviously I'm a pro renewable guy, right? So you all know that, otherwise the name of the channel doesn't make sense, right? Let's be honest. So, but as I'm discussing with many people, including in my surrounding, including in my family, I know there's a lot of skeptics as well, and there's a lot of people as well that feel that the doom and gloom seem to be dominating. For example, not long ago, we had a third report of the sixth assessment of the IPCC that was talking about the dire situation in which the humanity is, the whole world is, saying that we're left it too late to act. We need to be acting right now, otherwise the consequences will be disastrous for all for everybody, right? And that's, by the way, that's true and good to say that, right? I'm not rejecting that. I'm just sharing what other people, the way they could be saying that, especially if you're not part of the sector. So if you kind of know what is going on but are not too interested for the moment, hey, that's your right as well, right? And it's that job to make sure that we can give you the information you need for you to be making a right opinion. So they can be contaminated by the doom and gloom, like the report, very dire. And the thing is, if you combine that and you add that to the situation we've all been going through, like COVID-19, for the last 2 years, it has been very difficult for people, and so basically the mood is very much down at the moment. Yes, the pandemic is easing off a little bit, but definitely not finished, right? In some countries as well, it's still very difficult. And also now we're dealing with the consequences, the economic consequences of the pandemic, right? So, and if you add into that the fact that you have a situation not going on in Eastern Europe, between Russia and Ukraine for the last 2 months now, and again that is depressing the mood of more people, and this is having as well an impact across the world, right? We can see, for example, gas prices shooting up. We have fuel prices shooting up, and you add into that, you put into that inflation. So that's a lot for people. That's a lot for people. Basically, it's depressing as information, and I can understand why all of a sudden people are so scared. People are so, let's say, out of so pessimist that they don't know what to do. They feel a little bit lost, right? And when you add into that the issue of the climate change that is pressing, they feel trapped. They're so scared they don't even know how to move, right? And that situation we finding ourselves in, right? So, and that's the vision that a lot of people feel, and it's good as well for us to recognize that. So, how do we bring people with us, but also recognize how people feel? Now, opposite this, right? Opposite this. So, it's all the question of how can we sell a little bit more hope into people to say not everything is lost. There's still something can be done. And quite interestingly, so I think a couple of days ago, even yesterday, I can't remember exactly, I saw these headlines saying that Prince William, right? So the heir of the obviously the UK royal kingdom, was saying that he's a stubborn optimist, right? So he believed in stubborn optimism. And I must confess, up until that time, so I've never heard of that terminology before. I thought, oh, that's actually quite interesting. This time, stubborn optimism, right? I felt connected with that. Maybe because I'm also eternal optimist, yeah, but also I'm quite a practical guy, obviously. But it kind of speak to me, and I thought, okay, there's something in there in stubborn optimism. But then the question becomes, what does it mean? What does it mean, right? It sounds like a nice phrase to say, nice expression. You hear that, it kind of speak to you. You kind of feel like, yeah, I like to hear more about news like that. But what does that mean? So you don't really know. So what I did simply. So I Google it, right? I Google it because I thought, okay, that's a theme that I like to develop maybe for the coming Sunday, and I do Google it, and to my surprise, I actually realized that this is not a terminology that has been invented or created by Prince William. Definitely not. I know, obviously. So when you are that famous, when you're obviously a figurehead in this world, whatever you say, definitely the media industry will amplify that, right? So that's how we have new things that are coming up all of a sudden, right? So, but I heard about that, the stubborn optimism. I found it very interesting. So I Googled it, as I mentioned to you. And guess what? I found out that something that's been existing before. And I just wanted to share that with you, that website. And I'm going to talk about that. I can see there's more coming there. Brilliant. I have that. The climate talk. Oh, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Great. So let me make sure that I respond to you in a minute. So I wanted to share my screen just to show you what I discovered, and then yeah, and we can talk a bit more about that. So I'm gonna be sharing my screen. So stubborn optimism. So it's not a new thing. It's not a new thing, and I realized that actually this is a term that has been created by two people. Yeah. So we have Christina Figueres. You probably remember her or not, but suffice to say that she's one of the champions of the Paris Climate Agreement, right? So at the time when it was signed, 2015, she was definitely one of the key people that pushed that forward. And then together with a German called Tom Karnak. So they are the one that came up that phrase, that coined that phrase, stubborn optimism. And the way that is a mindset, based on grit and determination in the face of daunting but unavoidable challenge, right? And then again, when you go there, so I've been watching the video for some time. I'm not going to play the video for you, but you can go and watch it for yourself, right? So it's very interesting. So I've gone through that. I've listened to that, and I found it very, very interesting. So to see that, right? So, and basically, just to summarize to you, what is that they are saying with the term stubborn optimism? Like I say, they say that it's a mindset of grit and determination on faces unavoidable challenge, right? And for them, it's about how can we make sure that we still work together, work to make sure that we can tackle this challenge while keeping the sense of optimism, because they recognize one thing. So they recognize that all the atmosphere of doom and gloom and fear, as some people could see that, definitely produce one thing in people: pessimism, that for sure, but also fear. And fear, they recognize it. It's very much important as well, because it gets people to move. It gets people to realize that we need to be doing something, right? That definitely it has its role, but it can only take you so far, right? It can only take you so far. You will do just what is needed to get going a little bit, but is it enough to completely avoid the challenge? Not the case, right? So that's what they were also taking the example of when the Paris Agreement was was ratified. Everybody recognized that it was a huge achievement, because it was the first time the whole world was coming together to ratify something where there has been so much division. And they were saying that it is that sense of stubborn optimism that sort of drove people to get to that point. Because stubborn optimism, that's not me saying that, it's what I've heard from this guy, which I found interesting. And I thought, okay, let me just sort of bring it into this channel as well and sort of discuss it. It's not stubborn optimism. It's not the result of success. It is a cause of success, right? It's because you have this stubborn optimism that it drives you to get and achieve at this point. And they go on to describe, to give some example, which was very interesting. They say that the whole idea is, how can you tap into this notion of exponential growth rate, right, to accelerate things, right? And usually when we say exponential growth rate, it's difficult to grasp it. What does that mean? But the good thing is, very recently in the world, we've had an example of that with COVID-19, the way it was spreading, right? And according to analysis, as they're saying, so what we know, what we realize is, for COVID-19, it wasn't so much the amount of people that were infected at any one point in time that mattered really per se, right? So it was actually the growth rate. So that's to say that if basically there is only 10 people that are in the entire world that had COVID-19, right? But if the growth rate, if the number of people with COVID-19 was doubling every 2 days, it would take 2.5 months basically for the whole world global population to be infected. Yes, 2.5 months. That's impressive. But that's obviously the impact of exponential growth rate on a negative term, right? On the flip side, or flip coin, right? If you think about that, solar, the the rate the capacity of solar compared that to the global market, global power capacity, solar represents only 3%. And we'll be saying, okay, 3%, that's not a lot. Looking at everything that has been doing, all the technology that has been put forward, the money, we only have 3%. But again, the key thing here is the growth rate. The growth rate. Because if solar is doubling, which is that the case right now, seems to be doubling, right? The rate expansion of solar is doubling every 2 years. What does that mean? In 2 years, we go from 3% to 6%. Another 2 years, we go from 6% to 12%. Another 2 years, we go from 12%, 24%. Another 2 years, it goes to 48%, so on and so forth. So that means within 10 years, basically, we have half of the power capacity that comes from solar. So that's an example. Combine that, right, with the acceleration as well, the exponential growth rate as well that has been observed for winds, but also for electric vehicle and for hydrogen. That's why I want to come back with Osama here, with hydrogen also doubling. So you have a picture that's completely different. So that's to say that, yes, this is what we need to be also sharing and telling people. Listen, it represents nothing at the moment. Everybody needs to agree that, right? But with the way it actually seems to be going forward, we need to keep up the momentum, because by keeping up the momentum and it keep doubling, right? Look at how far this could be going in the space of 10 years, just to say that yes, it is possible, and it's possible much faster than actually we will think. It's just about realizing it, and once you realizing it, then you understand, okay, there's something that could be done here. And the other thing as well is when we're looking at what the movement that has been going forward, right? So it's not just the growth rate in terms of power capacity that we've done. So 1 second. Yeah, no problem. That's fine. That's okay. Yeah. So it's not just sorry guys, I'm in family, so okay, I got interrupted a little bit, but that's fine. That's okay. So it's not just the rates of uh, power capacity that is going forward, right? We also have, if you imagine a growth rate acceleration in terms of the commitment, right? Because if you look at the commitment, and that's also what I have learned from going to the global optimism that Christina Figueres and that gentleman Tom Rivet Karnak was saying. So, and which is also true because that's something that I was aware of as well. If you look at the amount of commitment that we have from companies, so not long ago we only have 100 companies that committed to do something to to progress the cause of challenge of climate change. Now you have more than 1,000 companies that are made commitment, and it keeps on growing year after year. And it's not just small companies; it's just the big companies, also small companies now. So, and all of that is happening. Why? Simply because now we are at a stage whereby the economic benefit clearly not making sense for people to understand that yes, now even moving to a cleaner world for clean energy now makes sense in now the cheaper form of power generation in many countries. So now it makes sense. So that's why things are doubling. So this is the kind of vision or narrative that we need to be putting forward more and more and finding creative way to do it, right? So that's what I wanted to say. And just before I just stop and start taking questions, because I can see some people are left me some questions here. So basically, what is the narrative that you're pushing forward? The doom and gloom, or the stubborn optimism? So I just come back and say, when I think about children, yeah, because I have two boys, so I'm sure lots of you have children. Just think about your children, right? So when you really want them to do something, right? So you can keep on telling them off, right? Threatening them. So yes, they will stop for a minute or two, but guess what? Very short, they carry on doing what you told them not to do. So that keep them going. Usually it won't stop, right? Or you have to do something very special for them to stop, threaten something that big, yeah, for them maybe to stop. But most of the time, it's not good enough for them. They keep on doing it. However, when you're opposed to that, right, a vision where you're selling them something, a reward that they could get, that you can reward them with, if they carry on having a good behavior, you can completely flip the coin. All of a sudden, you go for something they're scared of to something they really want. And because they really want that thing more than they're scared of something else, they will go for that thing. So pain and pleasure. Between pain and the pleasure, we tend to go for the pleasure. So it's simply about how can we give them a bigger pleasure than the pain that they would experience, and they would choose the pleasure. Most of the time, that's what we do. So that's what I'm saying. What I would add between doom and gloom and stubborn optimism, what to go for? I go for the stubborn optimism. I'm sure you've guessed it some time ago, listening to me right now. But on top of that, I will add one thing. One thing. This is what I call a compelling future. A compelling future. Where are we moving towards? Something that attracts me. Something that actually is a little bit like when I'm an athlete, right? I'm fighting because I want to win the gold medal at the Olympics. And because of that, I keep on pushing because I know that's the reward. That's where I'm going towards. That's the direction, right? So if you tell me just keep on improving yourself, that's good, but that's not enough. I need to know where am I going? What is the price point? What is the big price? Yeah. And I believe this is that compelling future that we need to be selling more and more. And when we do that, all of a sudden we find creative ways, yeah, that we want to find that it becomes a little easier to get people engaged. And this is where we're now going to come back to what I was calling the exponential growth rate that they are talking about. Because for that exponential growth rate to happen, the demand is very important. And the demand is nothing but the population, right? When more people get interested into that, more people are asking and demanding that company act, the government act, and people will act. And that's how we have the growth rate coming up, right? So that's what I want to say. But you can't just scare people off. It's good, it is necessary, but it's not enough. There needs to be a compelling future that will set into them, you know, going together with stubborn optimism to get people to move in the direction we want them to move. So this is what I wanted to share with you today. Hopefully you have enjoyed. Yeah. Like me, like I say, it's Easter. I definitely wanted to make sure that I stay connect with you. So this is 2020 from Renewables in Africa, your clean energy champion. But before I leave you, I'm just going to take some questions because there has been some remark here, and I love having people sharing their remarks. So let me just go through that. Yeah. So first of all, what I had Osama was great to celebrate with you the renewables in Africa, hydrogen intelligent, H2 intelligent. Hey Osama, good to see you. Excellent. Thank you for logging in, yeah, and connecting. So who do we have again? So I have Tulani. Is there a space for startup in the renewable energy? Oh, there's a place everywhere. Well, um, definitely. So basically, there's a number of reports are saying that for us to be moving to the energy transition I was talking about, we need to rely a lot on new technologies, right? A good part of which have yet to be invented or created. So that means there's a space for innovation. And if you follow the conversation that I did on Wednesday, where I was talking about, how does the spark happen for clean tech innovation? So you will find the response there. So I recommend that you do that. That's the one I did on Wednesday. But definitely there's space for innovation, and there's different type of innovation. The technology, new technology innovation. So you have innovation where you're improving the process that already existing. You have innovation where you're looking at the business model. You have innovation where you're looking at the finance mechanism. You have innovation where you're looking at the regulation, the regulatory part of it. There's different section, different part where you can get innovation. And yes, startup is very much at the heart of the game. And if you have a startup be thinking about doing something, hey, definitely, we're looking to see your idea. I like to be here in a few weeks, in a few months, in a few years, I don't know, talking about the brilliant invention, the brilliant innovation that you brought into the industry, right? Hopefully that gives you some word of encouragement. Yeah, Tulani Tabalala. Okay. Osama was responding and say, should we as Africans sell our renewable energy source to off-taker for peanuts? I guess when I read your question, I see already what you are seem to be insinuating. So listen, it's not just a question of Africans. I think everybody, nobody should be selling resources for peanuts. Definitely not. So if you know what your resource is worth, you need to make sure that you are paid accordingly. But for you to be paid accordingly, you also need to understand how the game works, right? You need to understand the rules of the game. And this is one of the reasons we are having live like the one we're doing today. Because I realize, like I said, the whole idea of this channel is to demystify the renewable energy sector for you. Because I know what it takes, right? I know where it comes from outside. Listen, guys, I came from outside. You may not know that, but I was in automotive engineering before. I knew nothing about power, nothing about renewable energy, and I had to train myself to get to the point where, but yes, now I understand a thing or two. So that's what it takes. So you need to have the knowledge. But guess knowledge is not power. It's just potential power. Once you have the knowledge, it's about taking action, right? Apply knowledge. That's the real solution. So hopefully that speaks to you. So then I have the climate talk. COP26 is done and dusted, but you get the feeling that there is more gloom and doom than optimism. What role can renewable do to bring some optimism? Well, I guess thank you very much to the climate talk. That's exactly the reason why I highly talk, right? Because I know that that's what I say. If you combine the report that have been released that are necessary, but unfortunately sometimes bring in more doom and gloom than maybe optimism. Combine that with COVID-19, combine that with Ukraine and Russia, combine that with inflation that's killing a lot of us at the moment, right? So, like I say, there's very much pessimism, and people feel a little bit lost. They're so petrified, don't know where to go. Absolutely. So that's what we need to get all people to also realize that listen, we've done as well a lot of progress compared to where we were a few years ago. And we need to focus into that. And we also need to set a compelling future to say, hey guys, no matter how bad situation look like, there's something even better, greater that's waiting for us. It's just up to us to act right now. And guess what? If you act right now, if we act right now, in 10 years, we can completely reverse the situation and get to a situation we are a lot better. Yeah. And because personally for me, I believe in the genius of the human mind. And I know, there are solutions that are yet to be created and that can completely change the game. Yeah. So what are they? I don't know just yet. But usually what I say to people is it's important to remember that, everything in this world, almost everything, every technology we're using, every piece of invention was once an idea, was once thought impossible. But it's because there were people that were strong enough to believe that, hey, I can bring something that people are going to change, that's going to change the game, that all of a sudden this thing appear. And obviously now, when it becomes real, it seems logical for everybody. Just the fact that I'm talking to you today. Oh, listen, I'm in my early 40s, right? But when I grew up in Cameroon, right? I would never have thought that I could be here sitting talking to people across the world. No, definitely not, right? But now I see it seems like it's not for me, but it wasn't. It wasn't. Yeah. So there was a specific channel to when you were going to go to traditional media and mainstream, where you're going to go to inform people. Now there's different way, yeah. And that's just an example to say, hey, the human mind, but I think it's very great, and no matter where you come from, by the way, exactly, whether you're European, you're an American, you're Indian, you're African, Asian. Nah, it's about what you have in your mind, what you want to bring forward. So, as I say, there's still a lot that we have to discover. I personally believe that yes, we're gonna win this fight. Okay, so somebody saying, enjoy very much. Thank you. I've enjoyed that with you, right? That's why I'm here. So that's my part of Easter. I know I need to go and eat with the family, but talking to you also is very important. This is how committed I am, and this is how much I enjoy talking to you. This is how much I love giving you, sharing some insight, because I don't want all that knowledge to stay with me. It's of no use with me only. No, I'm just one person out of 8 billion. How do we get 8 billion people to understand it the way I understand it? Yeah, so that's what we're talking about here. So what we have here as well, Tulani, great presentation. Thank you, Tony. I'm the one having to thank you because this is how where I get the courage to carry on. Because hey, listen, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a human being. So sometimes even myself, I'm depressed. I'm thinking, hey, what are you talking about? You're so optimistic. But look, listen. But when I'm having conversation like that, it's fueled me, right? Again, it showed to me that yeah, there is a reason I'm doing what I'm doing, and fortunately, there's a couple of people I can impact, and there's a couple of people I believe out of those conversations would go and do great things. And this is my job to make sure that they happen. Okay, excellent. I don't think there is any more questions. I've gone through all of that. Guys, fantastic talk today, as usual. Great talk, right? So we've done half an hour. Probably gonna stop here and just gonna go and go back with the family. But like I say, I did talk a little later than usual, but I still wanted to do it because, as I say, is how much I enjoy talking with you. So, what is left for me to say? Happy Easter, guys. So, enjoy this special moment. Enjoy with your family. Take a rest, you know, and look after yourself. And then make sure that you're using your greatest asset, your mind, because everything is there. It's gold. Yeah, it's a gold mine. You just need to know how to mine it. Yeah, that's what it is. Okay, so thank you very much for that, and then definitely we'll be back next Wednesday because you know now we're having a live on a Wednesday 6 p.m. BST time, on a Sunday 2:30 p.m. BST time. It just today was special. I did a little later because I just couldn't do it before I was driving. Yeah, so I push it a little bit. But as I say, yeah, looking forward to see you next Wednesday. Enjoy this time, spend time with family, and look after yourself. And until then, may the sun be with you. Guys, I love you. Good pillow.